Welcome to Blackwood95, a Monster of the Week actual play. Thanks for joining us. We're going to jump right in for episode 5. Now, it's been a week since that night at Hendrik House. You've all had some time to settle into your new digs in the north wing of the creepy old mansion. Prism got the power turned back on, they took care of Bart's body, they even fixed up the Cadillac. But this help didn't come without some cost. Frank, you found that the crew supervisor that showed up from Prism stayed past the repairs and refitting. Her name is Samantha Pullman, but you call her Agent Pullman. She is a very cold and by-the-book agent, and she seems fairly suspicious of your friends. She claims she's staying on for a bit to monitor your progress here in Blackwood, but you get the impression she may have other orders as well. In addition to outfitting the North Wing to accommodate the three of you, as well as any operations rooms, a new telephone has been installed in Hendrik's Manor, which allows you to have direct contact to Prism headquarters under Director Carver. Just to set the scene a little bit, I'm going to ask Alan, can you tell us a little bit about what the North Wing looks like? What changes have you guys put into place that make North Wing your base of operations?
So I just spruced it up the way I do. Tried to make it look as modern, but as normal as possible, because that's what I do. I try and fit into the time that I'm in, which means any new gadgets, anything like that, if we have money, if it depends on our budget here on how far I want, but probably a big screen TV, one of the big fat ones in one of the rooms, a nice couch, a living area, laser disc player if they have it.
Sure.
Super Nintendo.
Right.
Super Nintendo for relaxation time. You gotta have all the fun toys. And then my room is outfitted. I decided that I need to go more modern and lines, so everything is like a square or a rectangle. Like my bed looks like a modern post, but not wooden spindle post, like with the white ends and that look like rectangles, like I said, and you know what I mean. Everything looks modernized, kind of lots of lines everywhere.
Okay. And as far as so everybody's got their own room in the North Wing, then I imagine. Agent Pullman also has her own room with a keypad lock that none of you have been inside of since it's been refitted.
I have.
Okay, and that's entirely possible. With your abilities, you might have been able to.
Creeper.
It's mid-morning on August 4th. 9 a.m., it's already 95 degrees out, not a cloud in the sky. Humidity, it makes it feel closer to 100, 110. It's going to be another scorcher day. The heat wave of the summer is continuing on. Now, the Cadillac was finished being repaired yesterday, and the mechanic that Frank, he left, but he said, if anything needs to be done, you let him know. He's a good guy. You've known him for a while. His name, everybody just calls him Patty. But he touched it all up. He even asked you, did you want a fresh coat of paint on it after he got it sorted out?
Oh, yeah.
And what color is the Cadillac now?
Black, I think.
Okay, so black Cadillac, fully outfitted with armor plating. The trunk arsenal has been re-outfitted so that it's got all the current equipment that you're going to look for in there. What would Frank be doing this morning, and where would he be?
9 a.m. Probably. So the mansion's been outfitted with comforts of
just the north wing. The whole rest of the mansion is exactly as it was, but just as you basically enter the mansion, you hang a left into the north wing of the building, and that has been outfitted for your purposes. The Hendricks Foundation, working with somebody at Prism up high, has made it so that this is your place now for right now, especially considering that they wanted to know why things were going on. You're not sure exactly of the upper echelon dealings, but the North Wing is your place. There's still got a whole bunch of creepy manor otherwise.
Like, I mean, we got a fully functioning kitchen and
Absolutely,
all that stuff.
absolutely.
You know,
Now, how much does the agent know about me?
Well, I'm going to actually.
She's suspicious of us.
Yep.
But
I'm gonna leave that up to Frank. How much have you disclosed to Prism about Jacob or about Lucas?
Is Agent Pullman like from a different department?
She does seem to be more of like an internal affairs department.
Okay.
By the way, the reason
yeah.
why Agent Pullman is here is because of the amount of luck that you used last time.
I figured that. The red tape.
The red tape. Yep. But yeah, Agent Pullman is from like an internal affairs department, so not your normal field operative, and she's been fairly critical since she's been in the house in the week.
Yeah, I wouldn't have disclosed much. Like, I think the agency already knows about Jacob's. Well, that he's paranormal, anyways.
Okay.
Because I think in the beginning that was one of the things.
I think that was part of your connections, was that you got assigned to investigate him. So we can say that Prism knows that Jacob is across the line into no longer a normal mundane civilian and has some paranormal abilities, but if you haven't filled them in on everything that Jacob can do, we're going to leave a lot of that in the shadow for them.
Yeah, I definitely would not have.
Okay.
I'm going to protect the team's secrets as much as I can, even
Okay.
from the agency.
Then I will imagine also that Lucas is basically just listed as a contractor when it comes to your reports, because that's originally how you two met, was you were working together in a case, and you might not have, if you're protecting secrets, you wouldn't have filled Prism in on Lucas's abilities either.
Right. As far as they're concerned, he's an expert researcher.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we contract him to help us with research into the targets that we're sent after that line.
Sounds good. So at 9 a.m., heat wave already going on. Where do we find Frank? Is Frank at the house? Is he in town? Or what's he doing?
Yeah, I think Frank doesn't want to hang out at the house a ton with Agent Pullman there, so Frank goes down to the restaurant and just having a cup of coffee.
Okay.
Maybe get some diner breakfast.
Down at the diner having breakfast. Perfect. I think that you do, as you're digging into your plate of hash browns and eggs, your pager goes off. You see Agent Pullman's number on her company-issued cell phone, and it just says, inventory today. Looks like she wants to take an inventory today.
Yay.
Jacob, what would Jacob be doing this morning, and how would you spend your time normally in this last week?
Well, so I have Bartimus's revolver.
Okay.
And we went through, I believe it had 6 rounds, you said, and we shot 4 of them, so it only has 2 rounds left.
5.
It was a 5-shot revolver.
Yeah.
But it's still, we used 3 then, right? Because it had 2 rounds
You
left.
have 2 rounds left, correct.
So Jacob would be researching on how to make more rounds and working in the basement, trying to see if he can figure out a way to reproduce the rounds that go into this weapon, just in case we need it.
Okay. With that in mind, if Jacob spent some time in the basement and was looking for how to research and how to build the revolver, he would actually find in the basement Bartimus's journal, which goes into detail about how to do that.
Okay, and that's really what I've spent my time doing. I've made more ammo because we don't know if we're going to need, I assume that this gun is supernatural means. It can, like me, so we might need it. So I'm just trying to make sure that we have the tools that we need.
Okay. In that last week, okay, now the north wing has been re-outfitted, but you've spent time in the basement as well as other parts of the house because it would have, I imagine, just looking for materials, looking for any references, or into the library where Bartimus had some of his notes.
Oh,
Has there been any... Go ahead.
Yeah, I searched the entire house, going through walls, looking for secrets, anything.
Okay.
You know.
Has there been any strange occurrences in the house since Bartimus's was dealt with? Is the house still haunted? Is it still touched by the supernatural? Anything weird going on?
Oh yeah, every once in a while his wife makes an appearance. She's still around, I believe.
Okay. So Annie makes an appearance every once in a while, but hasn't been malicious.
Down in the crypt, you know, like she, for whatever reason, hasn't found her rest, even though we've finally think we've dealt with Bartimus, but maybe we haven't. Maybe that's why she's still here.
Okay. Sounds good. All right.
Other than that, no, I haven't seen anything else because they didn't have any kids, right?
Oh, they had lots of kids. The Hendricks family had lots of kids. That most of them after Annie's death were ported out of town and lived with relatives.
So most of them did, but while Jacob was researching, he did find reference to one of them died under mysterious circumstances, and was one of the reasons why Annie might have left, why she was really starting to get withdrawn from Bartimus. She didn't know if Bartimus tortured the kid, beat the kid, if Bartimus had anything to do with it, but the child was still very young, about 5 or 6, and died under mysterious circumstances.
Okay.
They actually found it drowned in the well.
Drowned in the well. All right. Good. Okay, so that's the vibe that Jacob's been dealing with through the week. Lucas, what is Lucas doing this morning? And where would he be at?
We've been here a week.
Yep, a week.
This particular morning, he's probably in his room, got some Nirvana cranked up, and is on the internet on his laptop, searching for things. But over the past week, he's probably visited some of the local sites that he read about in the headlines before coming here.
Okay.
There were some grave disturbances and some crop circles. I definitely would have wanted to check those out while he was in town.
Okay, so you've been peeking into the dark corners of Blackwood in the last week, doing a little research. Okay. So as Lucas sits there on his computer, tapping away, checking message boards, jumping into maybe some Yahoo chat rooms, the ones that are lesser known, there is a tapping on the windowsill, on the glass in the window of your room, that draws your attention, and you see and hear Lenore outside, furiously beating her wings, clawing at you and tapping the glass, as if to get your attention.
Opening the window. Honestly, at this point, I'm surprised I just don't have the window open for her to come in and out as she pleases.
Let's say that you did have the window open, but she wasn't coming in. She tapped the glass and would hop side to side, trying to get you to come towards her.
Okay. On that.
When you get to the window, she takes flight and flies out towards the town, sailing along on the warm morning air. And in the far side of the valley, Lucas, as you look out, you see that the town kind of spreads out ahead, before you, and then the far valley wall, a few miles away, stretches up, and you can see just the flashing red light of something racing up the far valley wall. As you hear the town siren, the fire hall starts to go off. And it's not noon, it's only about 9 o'clock in the morning, just loud siren going off. And around then, Jacob, from your where you're at, we'll say that you're in the basement right now working on something, you start to hear that Prism phone start to ring around the same time that Lucas, you're hearing that siren go off. Now, Frank, in the diner, you are having your breakfast. You've checked that page from Agent Pullman. You were just about to dig back in when all of a sudden siren goes off, and you see the local police car, assumingly driven by Sergeant Barnes, just go flying by with sirens blaring, heading towards the west of town. What would all of you do in this situation? Let's start with Lucas. Yeah, let's start with Lucas.
Stopping the music immediately and then running from room to room. Well, and not finding the people that I'm supposed to be living with. I guess probably would know that.
You run from room to room real quickly, checking to see where your friends are, and I'm going to say that you run basically into the same room where, and you've met her, Lucas and Jacob. You've met Agent Pullman, but you haven't spent time interacting with her. She's mostly ignored you and been talking to Frank, but you run into the room where Agent Pullman is having a cup of coffee, sitting by herself in your common room with your large screen television with local news on, or national news on. But she just kind of arches an eyebrow as you run in, and she says, good morning, it's Lucas, I believe. And she has a notebook in front of her that she's taking notes occasionally. She says, it's Lucas, isn't it?
Yes, and you're Sam?
Agent Pullman. You can refer to me as that or simply as Agent. Where would you expect to find Agent Dresman this morning? I paged him a few moments ago, but he hasn't responded.
I just checked his room, wasn't there.
Is this a common occurrence? He just leaves and doesn't tell anybody where he's going?
I mean, he's got his things. As far as I knew, we weren't on assignment right at the moment.
I see. Would Jacob have come up out of the basement?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to say you enter the room at that time. Frank, would you have stayed at the diner as this was happening, or would you be getting around to head back towards the house or do something else?
No, yeah, I would. I mean, I'm not sure. Like, he would be in a rush to get back, but he'd be wrapping up.
Yeah, the police siren doesn't necessarily mean it has anything to do with you, but you do know something's going on.
Be like
could be anything. Could be anything.
Yeah, who knows? So yeah, like so I'm not gonna dawdle though. Like it's 9 o'clock. I'm gonna finish up my breakfast and then hop back in the car and head up.
Okay.
Up to the house.
I'm going to say that as Jacob, you enter the room and you see Lucas having a small conversation with Agent Pullman. She also has her cell phone out and looks like she's, it's the one where you have to hit the buttons 3 times to get to the right letters. But she's dialing something and looks like she's sitting very near where that Prism phone had rang moments ago, but it's not ringing now. So it's possible that she answered that call. And in the diner, we're going to just flash scene to scene. Your pager goes off again, call from HQ. So you know that something's happening, and it happens within a few moments of the sirens. So we'll say that is also part of your not dawdling around. But as you run into the room, Jacob, she looks to you and she says, and you are Jacob, I believe. There's a small file on you. I don't have a lot of information. Were you weren't in the wing? You were exploring the rest of the house, I take it?
Yes.
Anything of interest?
Sorry to interrupt, Sam, but I need to get down. I think you should come with me, Jacob. There's something going on downtown. We need to check that out. No offense. Agent
Pullman. And no, none taken. Yeah. And will you be convening with Agent Dresmond?
Hopefully we'll find him.
Well, as you were then, I'm going to just make a few more notes, and I have a phone call here in a few moments to check in with headquarters. Please do let Agent Dresman know that I'll require a status report as soon as possible.
Is there something that we're working on currently?
Well, you said that you had to go somewhere, correct? And you were going to be meeting up with Agent Dresman. Agent Dresman only works on prison business, so I assume there's something that you're going to be working on.
All right, we'll go with that.
So again, let him know that he should be checking in as soon as possible. Carry on, gentlemen. And then she goes back to writing in her notebook.
All right.
So just to also set that scene a little bit more, or just describe a little more, Agent Pullman is a thin woman. She's somewhere in between her late 20s and early 40s. You're not really sure where that is. Hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wears glasses. She's wearing a suit, not a skirt. And you know for a fact, based on when she moves occasionally, that she has a sidearm, a shoulder holster with a pistol under her jacket. And she seems to always have a notebook. And when she has passed you in the North Wing, she's always taking notes about something. Jacob, would you have actually gone into her room?
Oh yeah, I just stuck my head through the wall.
Okay.
Looked around once or twice.
If that's the extent, you would have noticed that her room is immaculately kept. Her bed's always made. Nothing out of place. She does have a computer in there, a full desktop computer hooked up to the internet, as well as a lockbox that you don't know what's inside of it. It's about maybe 2 or 3 feet on each side, about 1.5 feet tall.
Looks like a file cabinet, maybe like a file box.
It could be a file cabinet, yeah. Yeah, it could be a file cabinet. But that's her room, the extent of her room. It looks like she's working there, but you would like it looks less lived in than your average hotel room even. So Jacob and Lucas, then.
In other words, it doesn't look like she's making herself at home. This is business.
It does look like, or that the only way she conducts things, it seems to be business. You haven't seen her crack a joke, smile at anything. You have, in the weak sense, when the three of you might have a meal together or watch something on television, she does not interact with you on a social aspect ever. She spent a lot of the time following Patty around, paying attention to the repairs he was making on the Cadillac. You've seen her in the rest of the house, especially up in the room where you found the revolver where you shot from. And she's also toured the grounds, but it's been she also has a camera she's taken pictures of, pretty much everything.
That's what as I turn to follow Lucas, I say, "Agent, permission to leave, ma'am."
She fully ignores you. Like, you can tell that does not ruffle her feathers at all. She just continues taking notes as if you weren't talking to her at all. So the two of you then leave the North Wing at least.
No, I'm not going to leave just yet. If
Okay.
Lucas leaves, I go like this.
Okay.
And I just stand there.
I'm waiting impatiently at the door.
Yeah, Lucas, you can hear Lenore cawing from outside. You can hear her cries occasionally. So Lucas is waiting patiently at the door. Jacob, what are you doing?
Impatiently.
Impatiently.
Well, when Jacob dances around enough, I'll be like, "Thank you, ma'am," and leave.
Okay. Frank, would the call from HQ hurry you along anymore?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. When I got that, I was after the siren, especially if they came in simultaneously.
Yeah, pretty much one right after another.
Simultaneously. Like the siren, would have kind of got him going, but then when he got a simultaneous call from HQ, yeah, at that point he's putting his step down and paying the bill, and actually not just putting money down for the bill and
Okay.
heading out.
Okay. So we're gonna bend time here a little bit. So Lucas and Jacob, you come out of the you exit the Hendricks Manor out into the main yard. Now, I imagine, Lucas, your motorcycle is up at the house at this point. You see the Cadillac is not there, so you know that Frank's not at the house at the moment. What would the two of you do in the interim before you know where Frank is?
I'd say I normally wouldn't care all that much about just a general siren, but Lenore's thinks something's going on, so I'd like to go check out what's going on.
By the way, that siren hasn't stopped, and it's been about 5 minutes, just still going. And when you look towards town, there are more flashing lights that have headed towards that western road that leads out of town.
Care to hop on the back?
Oh, I'll hop on the back.
Okay. So I'm going to say
as
that...
we're hopping on as I hop on the back, though, this is going to be a little tough, but I'm going to try and use my magic to contact Frank.
Okay.
Since I'm on the back of a motorcycle, and I know that, for me to use my magic, I've got to use hands and maybe pull out a little bit of some sort of component, maybe even pocket lint or something to burn, but to fuel it other than my will, just because that's how Jacob believes that magic needs something more than just his willpower. It needs something physical. And usually it's whatever Jacob can find that might come. Like if it's a big spell, it's got to be something worth something. If it's a small spell like communication, just trying to get it, you know what I mean? It doesn't really matter, but it's got to burn something physical for him.
Okay. All right. So you're trying to, like grip with your legs while Lucas starts to wheel out of the grounds. You're trying to send a communication message to Frank.
Yep.
Perfect. Give me a use magic ability. This isn't a big ability, so we'll just give me a use magic. I'm sorry, it's not a big magic spell.
Yay.
Okay, got an 11.
That's 11.
So I think you feel the connection happen, and you can send that message that whatever you'd like to communicate with to Frank.
I basically just say, Frank, we're on our way to the sirens. We're leaving the house now.
Okay. And is Frank able to talk back to you?
If Frank tries to, then yes, but he doesn't necessarily know that he can, so that's on Frank to,
Okay. Okay.
Frank doesn't know he can, so he's not gonna.
So you're just getting in the Cadillac, firing the engine up when you hear Jacob's voice in your mind again, kind of like that hollow, echoing sound. But you hear him say, "Hey, we're heading towards the sirens."
Okay.
Which may or may not be true because I'm headed wherever Lenore is leading me.
Lenore is flying down the main road, which leads towards the west at the moment.
All right. Yeah, I will. I'll head toward the sirens as well.
Okay, so we're gonna. Go ahead.
We should meet up, shouldn't we? We come down the road and he's leaving the diner. Aren't we going to go the same way?
You are going to be going the same way. You're coming from the east. You're heading west. Frank is a little bit further along, but the bike is pretty quick. I'm going to say that you probably see the Cadillac pulling a Yui on Main Street as you come barreling up on the motorcycle, and you can see them in your rearview mirror, Frank, as the Jacob and Lucas come riding up. You do, all three of you can see Lenore kind of sailing down Main Street, 50 to 100 feet up, heading towards that western road.
Right.
We're all headed the same direction, then I'm just going to fall into line behind Frank.
Okay.
And I'm going to follow Lenore because I can put two and two together and assume that, they know something I don't.
Okay.
And I'm not super worried at this point of touching base with Agent Pullman yet. Like, she can wait.
Okay. You get to a side road where you can tell there's actually a number of cars that are going up that direction. You do see one like volunteer police or volunteer ambulance car with, just a regular pickup truck with a flashing light stuck to the top of it that takes the corner kind of hard right before you get there onto a dirt road. Starts barreling up Diggins Road, and there's a sign at the front at the base of Diggins Road that says campground available, and then a phone number. But you start following them up, this volunteer pickup truck, and a good couple miles up the side road, up the Far Valley side, which would be what you would have seen from your window, Lucas. You arrive at a clearing. Now there's a pond over to the left-hand side. There's thick trees. You can see every once in a while as you were driving up, you'd see little offshoot trails, like four-wheeler trails. You can see little cabins, like that might be a campground with cabins. You see a few that are just tent campgrounds with little fire pits. You don't see anybody at any of these locations at the moment, though occasionally you do see a car that's parked at one of them. Where you arrive and where there are there's a fire truck, there's an ambulance, there's a police car, and then there's probably 9 or 10 other cars, and not all of them look like they belong here. Not all of them are volunteer people. In fact, I'd say 6 or 7 of the cars are pulled back a little ways from whatever the central focus is here, and there's just a gaggle of people out, just townsfolk that are kind of like looky-loos trying to find out what's going on. You see Sergeant Barnes kind of yelling at a group of people as he's putting up police tape, but the road is clear, and you do know that in the time that you've been here, in the last week, in the time that Prism was fixing up your Cadillac as well as outfitting the house, that somebody from Prism made a phone call, and you know that Sergeant Barnes has not been real eager to interact with you in that last week, Frank. He's not. You don't know that he's necessarily been told to cooperate with you, but you have seen him avoid you rather than confront you like he was the first couple days that you were here. But the Cadillac and the motorcycle, they pull up into the gravel side next to the dirt road. As I said, you can see a pond. There's a couple people out kayaking. In fact, you can see a couple kayakers that are just kind of 100 feet out in the water, just kind of watching the commotion on the beach. You see, I'm going to say that Sergeant Barnes sees you pull in, and he actually points, as you're getting out of the car and stepping off the motorcycle, he points over towards, this is the first time you've seen him, another police officer in Blackwood uniform, though this one is a long sleeve shirt despite the heat. He looks like he doesn't leave the office as often. Kind of red hair. He's got the hat on that keeps the sun out of his eyes, and you can see captain stripes on his shoulder. But he just kind of points over at him and then goes back to kind of keeping the crowd under control. What would you guys do?
Well, I'll get out of the car, and I'm assuming they're right.
They were right behind you. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So, Lucas, I see Lenore's leading us here. What's going on? You guys know anything?
I know something's going on. I never really know quite exactly what it is.
Yeah, Lenore does.
Please, I'm going to follow your lead for a bit here.
Lenore does caw a couple times at the mention that you're never quite sure what's going on. She kind of looks down at you and cocks her head a little bit, and then goes silent.
I love you, darling.
Now, Jacob, are you just blending into the background right now?
I just kind of hop off the bike and I'm just glancing around, seeing what I see, listening to what I see, trying to use and get a feel for if something strange is going on here with, sense things. So the gaggle of people, the onlookers, most of them look like, there's a mix. It's people from town. It looks like other campers from nearby campgrounds have shown up. There's a lot of whispering and pointing. One person has a disposable camera and is taking pictures.
Sergeant Barnes is yelling at them to stay back as he's stringing up yellow police tape. It looks like the fire truck, not necessary here in a official capacity, but it's here nonetheless, and it looks like it's what's blocking whatever the source of this emergency from the group of people. You see the police captain over on the side. He's got like a little notebook in his hand. He's taking some notes. He's talking to this guy who's kind of like a middle-aged guy, kind of salt and pepper hair. He's got like a flannel shirt and stained jeans and boots. He's got a red and white trucker cap on, and he's like kind of pointing up the road and then back out there, and he points at the kayakers. So while Jacob's just kind of keeping an eye on everything, Lucas, Frank, what do you want to do?
One other thing, did Agent Pullman mention anything as you guys headed out? Because I got some pages from her. I'm not sure if it's related or not.
That's right. She was looking for you, and she wanted me to tell you to report in. I think that, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll get back to her later. Well, let's go talk to the captain over there and see if we can get any information. Let me know, though, if Lenore sees anything of interest as well, though.
Absolutely. I will. I'll follow, but I'm more trying to look around to see if there's anything to actually be seen.
Okay.
But I'm just following behind Frank.
What are you looking for? I mean, not specifics, but give me a generalized. You're out in the woods. There's a campground. There's a lot of people.
Something that would draw people here. I mean, some reason for the sirens to be going off. Anything?
Oh, okay. Well, so when I said that the fire truck is blocking view of whatever's going on, you can, I mean, occasionally from your current vantage point, just at the vehicles, you can see paramedics and EMT who are not in a hurry kind of milling around on the far side of the fire truck.
Okay.
But the all three of you go over to the captain?
I'm not like...
At that, I might try and get closer to the fire truck, actually.
Okay, so you're going to head
towards... if I can get a better view of what's going on the other side of it.
Okay, and what did you say you were doing, Jacob?
Jacob, I'm not going to the fire truck. I'm just going to kind of make my way. We're in the, like, you said that the fire truck's blocking the road, but we're woods around us?
Yeah, it's all woods around you. You can see a couple small campsites that are not occupied at the moment. You can see the pond out to the left-hand side of the road, and you can see some kayakers out there. And the pond isn't huge. It's maybe 500-600 feet across.
Start making his way around into the woods and around so we can see past the fire truck.
Okay, so you're going into the woods to look around, and Lucas, you're heading basically to the fire truck to kind of peek around the corner while Frank heads over to talk to the captain.
Sure.
Okay. Let's talk about Frank first. So Frank, you approach as you see the sergeant or the police captain talking to this man in the baseball cap. But you hear him say, "Okay, so anything else, Wally? Do you know who this person was?" And you hear this other person who's been identified as Wally. He just goes he says, "Honestly, Captain, I don't know much. I mean, he registered to stay here, but I've got a name, and he gave me a home address, but I mean, it's out in Chicago. I don't know. He said he was just passing through and wanted to camp for the night, so I can get you that, but it's back up at the house." And he points farther up the road. Around then, the captain turns to you and he says, afternoon, I suppose. Well, no, morning still. He kind of looks up at the sky. He says, we haven't been introduced. Are you Agent Dresmond?"
Yeah, I mean, seeing as how we weren't introduced, I didn't know him. As I approached, I would have been pulling my badge out so that I could identify myself.
Yeah, he kind of clocks it and kind of smiles. Now he's a late middle-aged man. He's got a red beard, red goatee, red hair that's kind of tucked underneath the hat. He's a little he's a little wrinkled and a little bit more aged than definitely more aged than Roy. It looks like he's seen a lot more time, but most of that time's probably been behind the desk, from what you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, Agent Dresmond, looks like wasn't aware that you were going to be joining us at the scene, but here we are. This is Wally Campbell. He's the owner of the campground. What's that?
Did he introduce himself to me?
He hasn't said his name yet, but you see it says Captain Spence on his uniform. But he says, this is Wally Campbell. He's the owner of the campground, and he's who called the police. And he points out at the kayakers that are out in the water. He says, apparently some of these folks found, and he points over, he says, found a body. It looks like one of the campers got attacked last night.
Attacked how?
Yeah, so we're still waiting for the EMTs to tell us about it, but real torn up, looking like a wild animal of some sort. We're not really sure what quite yet. It's pretty early on, but looks like a unfortunate killing by what we're assuming is a wild animal. Man was from out of town, so I was just asking Wally about when he registered for the campsite, what he found out. We're going to cut from there in that conversation for just a moment, just to kind of flash around scene to scene. Lucas, you slide up alongside the fire truck. No one's really giving you a whole lot of attention after you made it past Sergeant Barnes. You see a few, fire crew that are not really, like I said, they're not really meant to be here. They were called because it was an emergency in a small town. They're over, off to the side smoking a cigarette. You slide along the edge of the truck and then kind of peek over. There is a blood-soaked sheet covering most of the body, but you can see the man's face, and it looks like large claw marks that tore off about half the face. You can see exposed skull, a missing eyeball, and just a spray of blood across the campsite, and a shredded tent. But there is a violently murdered or killed person underneath this tent. I'm sorry, underneath this tarp.
So, Keeper, what sort of thing is this?
You want to try to use your
Occam's broadsword thing.
Okay. Remind me, is there a roll for the Occam's broadsword?
There's no roll. You will just give me vague information. I'll get a +1 forward.
Okay.
It is. Hold on.
Sure.
It is. You can just pinpoint whether it's natural, an unnatural creature, a weird phenomenon, or a person that is responsible for this.
Okay. I think that you kind of clock everything real quickly. I think you make some very quick calculations in your head. A couple things that you've read kind of flash through as far as, the average paw size of different species of fauna that might frequent this area. Whatever those claw marks are on his face, on this corpse's face, are far too wide for a natural creature. So this was something unnatural. An unnatural creature of some sort was responsible for this. So you believe the Lenore definitely led you here for a purpose.
Gotcha. There are people keeping an eye on this scene?
There's a couple paramedics that are nearby, but they're conversing and they're just basically filling out a report. No one is actively inspecting the body at the moment.
I'm gonna see if I can't wander closer to the body.
Okay. I'm going to jump out to Jacob. So you wandered a little ways out into the woods, kind of circled around. You see Lucas kind of getting closer, and from the distance, you can see that there's a body there. You can't quite make out a lot of details, but you can see that someone's been murdered or killed. They're covered him in the sheet, and you can see the paramedics, the police officers, and whatnot, kind of milling around. You see the few kayakers that are out there, and you can see that a lot of the some of the crowd have kind of paid attention to you circling around, and they're not necessarily circling, but some of them have stepped left a little bit, try to follow towards where you were going, while Sergeant Barnes kind of yells at them. Anything you want to look for out there, or anything you want to try to clock while you're out just off on the edge?
I'm just kind of glancing around, seeing what I see, seeing if there is anything interesting out here, but no, I'm not looking for anything specific. I'm just looking around.
Okay. So without looking for anything specific, I'm going to say that that's pretty much what you see. You see that there's a body. You see the kayakers that are kind of keeping an eye. There's the crowd. You can see Frank talking to the captain as well as the man in the baseball cap, and then pretty much that's the scene right there. Jumping back to Frank and the captain and Wally, how would that conversation be going, or any conversation that you'd have at that point?
Yeah, actually, so Frank, to the captain, so I know previously we read in the news that some deer hunters have been attacked by apparent wolves. Do you think this is a similar type attack?
You're asking the captain?
Yeah.
He says, you know, I don't think there's any wolves anywhere near here. I mean, we're in Pennsylvania, and I think the last time there was a wolf sighting was 100 years ago. If I had to take a wild guess, maybe a bear. In fact, there was a report of a man that hit he thinks he hit a bear last night down in town, on the edge of town, messed up his truck a little bit, and we haven't had a chance to talk to him yet, but he did call it in, and said that we might need to go and clean up a body. But I had Roy, Sergeant Barnes, drive by and didn't see a dead animal anywhere, so we figured this was the more pressing matter. So it could have been a bear, I suppose. Beyond that, I'm not really sure. Have to wait and see what the paramedics say.
Oh, you haven't seen the body. I was just wondering if you thought maybe it was the same type of animal that may have attacked those deer hunters as well.
Well, I mean, I seen the body. I took a look, but I was waiting for the experts to kind of weigh in on the things. We haven't had a killing like this in Blackwood in quite some time, so not really sure. Now, are you trying to figure something out right now, Frank, in this conversation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to. Well, I mean, I'm trying to draw see if this is a repeating pattern for the the attacks on those hunters that happened prior to us coming into town.
Okay. Do you want to give me an investigate a mystery roll?
Yeah.
Okay. While you're talking to Captain Spence, Wally says, "Well, I'm gonna head back up to the house. I'll get that information for you, Captain. I'll be back in a little bit." And he turns and kind of starts walking away, and you notice that he limps a little bit. And the captain kind of says, "You all right, Wally? You limping a little bit there?" And he says, "Oh, it's just a old wound from the war, kind of left over. It bothers me every once in a while. I think it might rain soon." And then he kind of limps off and gets in a pickup truck of his own and starts heading up the road away from up the hill away from the campsite. So you got an 11 on investigate a mystery. So an 11 is a 10 plus is a hold 2, so you've got 2 that you can hold for this investigate, which means you can ask 2 of the questions that would normally come with the investigate a mystery. Is there anything that in particular you're trying to figure out?
What sort of creature is it?
Okay, so based on what you've talked about so far with and who you're talking to, you can tell it's you think that this is a flesh and blood creature. Okay, so like the last mystery you were dealing with a ghost. This is definitely a flesh and blood creature. Something that is
Your armor will probably work this time.
Normal guns too.
Something that is apparently violent and a little bit large. I'm going to say that while you're talking to the captain as well, you kind of glance down, and there is a large, like it's a partial print in the mud that's kind of nearby, but it definitely is a large creature. You're not sure exactly what from that, but you know this is a flesh and blood creature, something violent, something large. What else would you like to...
Single print there.
You see a partial print nearby.
2 legs, 4 legs, something like that.
I think on an 11 that you could tell that it was 2 legs, but definitely not human. While you think about your second one, okay, we're going to jump back to Lucas. If you clock that print and you look over and you see Lucas bend down over the body. A couple of the paramedics kind of look over to you, but then they look over to the captain, who kind of nods that that's not a big deal that you're there, because he saw that you arrived with Agent Dresmond. Lucas, what would you be doing?
I am going to check to see if there is any residual psychic energy. I'm going to try to use my empath ability on the body.
Okay. For psychic energy?
Just to, I mean,
What does the ability say it does?
That's why I said I don't know if this will be effect because he's been dead for a while. Says when you open your brain to feel the emotions of something right there in front of you.
Okay.
Roll plus weird.
Okay. Go ahead and give me that roll. While Lucas is doing that, would you have just stayed out in the woods just keeping an eye on things, Jacob, or anything else that you were going to be doing?
No, Jacob's making his way back further in the woods, looking at the ground, seeing any tracks, anything like that, leaving the scene while everybody else is around the scene.
Okay. All right, 11.
11's all around.
Yeah, 11. So the person's been dead for a while, whoever this person was. You're not getting anything from the body. The people around you, you can definitely sense a lot of unease from the paramedics, the EMTs, even the police officers. You sense a weird amount of fear and confusion and curiosity coming from the crowd of people.
Like weird beyond the fact that there's a dead body?
No, everybody immediately around you is all reacting in a very normal fashion to this horrific scene. What does ping, though, on your empath abilities, and I think that when it does, you happen to, I think, you tell me, if there was a ping and you could hear Lenore make a noise, would you step around and look on the opposite side of the fire truck? Like, would it draw you away from the body?
Absolutely. Lenore could draw me away from just about anything.
So I'm going to say that, Frank, as you're talking to the captain and kind of trying to figure things out, that this was a natural creature, and I mean, like, the captain's not necessarily giving you this information, it's your conversation with him as well as the scene that's kind of giving you that. You see Lucas bend down, kind of examine the body, then suddenly stand up and like step around the edge of the fire truck to look back towards the crowd. Lucas, the thing that really pinged, and you see Lenore kind of like circling the crowd. There's one person in the crowd that's not whispering to each other, that's not taking pictures, that's not, asking the sergeant what's going on. You see a man kind of like shaggy hair towards the back of the crowd, kind of pale, kind of thin, and your empath ability, when it hits everybody else, is like curiosity, fear, revulsion, uneasiness, anxiety. You hit this person, and it's like your ability fell off a cliff and into a well. Like there's nothing there. It's blank. You've never seen a person, you've never been around a person before that was a full blank. And it is unsettling. No. And he's just standing in the back watching.
I'm thinking Lucas might actually have a physical reaction to this.
Okay. What would it look like?
Like, oh.
So Lucas probably like puts a hand on the fire truck and gets a little nauseous?
Yeah.
Okay, which I'm going to say that the EMTs chalk up to the fact that you were just, right up next to a murdered corpse.
Makes sense.
Frank, do you have that second question? Or do you want to hold it for a little bit?
Yeah, I'm going to hold it right now.
Okay. Jacob, out in the woods, you were starting to investigate as well, looking for clues, correct?
Yeah, just I could find hint prints or anything, so yes.
Do you want to give me an investigate a mystery roll?
Oh, I suppose. No, not really, but...
Let's see an 11. Oh.
I started the 11s, all right? Now I'm starting the 6s.
Great, now we're all going to roll 6s.
Shit.
Okay. You start looking for tracks, looking to see if there's anything out here that this creature, whatever it is, whoever killed this person, or whatever killed, did it come this direction? You're kind of stepping through the trees. You start to get a little ways away from the clearing, and your foot falls through a false set of basically brush that's been covered something, and into a metallic object that clicks and slams shut onto your shin as a very large, very sharp bear trap slams shut on you, and it's going to do a total of 2 points of damage, 2 points of physical harm. And you notice that it is, as it slams into you, it's also chained to a nearby tree. You also notice it's shinier than what you would have expected it to be. Like it doesn't look like it's made out of normal like iron or steel, but it kind of slams shut on you. I know that you soak the first damage, the first point, but it does tear into your leg.
And it tears into my leg, and I'm like, son of a... But then I just be like, okay, this is easy, and I just go incorporeal for a second, pull my leg out.
Okay. Yeah, so you take a moment, focus yourself, your leg phases through the trap, which then slams the rest of the way shut.
Slams shut, and then I'll bend down and look at the trap a little bit.
Okay. It is made of, I mean, you're not a metallurgist, but it is made of a more refined metal than iron. It is something a bit more shiny, a bit more reflective.
So, and you said, now is the chain wrapped around the tree, and like, is there a padlock, or is it like nailed? The chain is nailed to the tree, or how is it connected to the tree?
It looks like it was nailed to the tree. It looks like the chain was wrapped around the tree and then nailed there in place.
So, all right, Jacob is just going to start. I'm going to go over and see if I can wrench the nail out, just kind of work it free and get the chain off the tree.
Okay. Jumping back, as you're getting your stomach under control, Lucas, there is a snapping sound, metallic snapping sound from somewhere in the woods, which you did see Jacob go that way, so you figure he's taking care of whatever is over there. But that noise, pretty much everybody in the crowd has ignored. The sergeant's not paying attention to that. But Mr. Blank, we'll call him, the person that you've looked at that has nothing, clocks that noise immediately turns and starts walking back down the road away from the crowd, like back towards town.
Okay, so he has turned. Am I in sight? Well, I assume I'm not in sight of either Jacob or Frank.
You're inside of Frank. You can see Frank and the captain still, but Jacob is somewhere in the woods nearby.
I try to catch eye contact with Frank.
Sure.
And point in the direction that the guy's walking.
Okay. And Frank, I think you'd clock that, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
I want to head that direction as well.
Okay, so you start heading that direction, so you're going to cut through the crowd then.
As I'm regathering my composure.
Okay.
I'll
all right. So Frank, you see Lucas point at this person who's broken away from the crowd and is walking back down the road away from this scene. And then you see Lucas start heading that direction. Anything that Frank would be doing at this point?
Yeah, I'm gonna burn my other investigative mystery. Where did it go?
Okay. So I'm going to say that in the conversation that you're having with the captain, and I think you're probably exchanging, a little bit of pleasantries. You're talking a little bit, it's a murder scene or a killing scene. There's a body. So it's not a lot of small talk that's pleasant, but it's more along the lines of, the captain's telling you that he's worked here for 25 years and so on. And last time there was anything that happened like this would have been, there was a biker that came through that killed somebody, but, that doesn't normally get like this. And you've angled your way around. You've looked down at like that partial print drew your attention enough that you've kind of in casual movement moved your conversation slightly over. And you see that print looks like it led... it was heading at high speed, whatever this thing was, back towards town.
Back towards town?
Right, yep.
Okay. Alright. At that point, I'm going to wrap up my conversation with the captain. Thanks. Thanks for, the information and everything. If you need any help, feel free to reach out. I give them one of my business cards.
Okay.
And then I head off to see what Lucas is doing.
So you're going to go catch up with Lucas. Okay. And Frank, you were basically prying the nail out so you could get this trap and the chain away from the tree? Jacob, sorry. Jacob, you were prying the nail and the chain off so you could get the trap out?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think that takes a lot of work. Knowing what it is, you can, take a pocket knife out, pry the nail, the chain and the trap come free. It still has some of your blood on it, though. Does your blood stay there for very long?
No.
Okay, so the blood that was on this has started to evaporate, just kind of wisping away. And I think that you see, as you stand up and pull this trap free of the brush, you look off to the corner of your eye where the road kind of parallels where you were at in the woods, and you see Lucas, having pushed through this crowd, start walking down the road with Frank not too far behind. Lucas, the man that you were following, is walking at a brisk pace down this dirt road and is maybe 100 feet away from you at this point. But he's just walking, doesn't seem to be looking left or right, doesn't look back, just walking straight away from the scene. When you push out past the crowd, the crowd does give way because you're a newcomer. You were over there involved with it. A few of them is like, "Hey, what's going on over there? What did you see? Who is it?" If you don't interact with them, then they let you pass.
I'm more continuing, even if my nausea has passed, I'm acting like it's still active.
Okay, so yeah, I think that acting nauseous is enough.
Fast and hurriedly.
Sure. They let you pass, and you hear Sergeant Barnes just kind of mutter, "Rookie," as you push past. But you get clear of them and are heading down the road. Frank, I'm going to say that you catch up. You probably skirt around the edge of the crowd to catch up to Lucas. And Lucas, you're not running, right?
No.
Okay. So you catch up to Lucas. Jacob, in the woods, would you come out with the trap, or what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah, I pick up the trap, wrap the chain around my shoulder so it's not dragging around, and I just kind of walk out.
Okay. And it did, by the way, despite what you rolled, the roll ended up with the trap getting you. You're in a campground. Finding that in a campground didn't make any sense. Okay.
That's why I pick it up, though. That's why
Okay.
I'm not trying to hide it. I
Okay.
threw it up, because that was the exact thoughts that went through my head. It was like, well, there's people here. I'm glad I'm the one that got hit by it. And
Right. You step out of the woods with this very large bear trap that is now clean, and join your companions on the road as they're following, walking away from the vehicles, following. It looks like in the distance, about 100 feet in front of you, there's a single man walking away. You get a better view of him at this point now that he's not part of the crowd, but he's just wearing like a ripped up old t-shirt, not like horribly ripped up, but just an old t-shirt, jeans and sneakers, but everything's kind of shabby appearance. He looks dirty in general, and kind of thin, but he's just kind of walking away from the scene. What do the three of you have? What is there a conversation as you three of you meet back up on the road?
Yeah, so Lucas, I see you taking interest in this guy. Is there something up with him?
I can't say for sure that he's involved in this particular incident, but there's definitely something not right about him.
Like, did
He does not register to me the way that normal people register.
So, as normal, as like a normal dirt road, kind of twists and turns and winds around things. There's the edge of the pond. There's large trees and whatnot. The whole road that you're walking down is kind of overgrown. There's like a canopy over top of you at the whole time. It's hot under the trees, but there's little speckles of sunlight that kind of light your way. Darker shadows underneath the tree line. As the road turns a little bit, if you're following this person at a normal pace, he's about 100 feet in front of you. As it turns enough that the scene behind you and the crowd are no longer in direct sight of you. As soon as that happens, this man goes from a normal walk to a dead sprint off into the woods. He takes a hard left, dead sprint off into the woods. About 100 feet away. The three of you.
Oh, yeah. I think that's a pretty good indication he's got some sort of involvement into what's going on here.
Ditch and run?
Well, can Lenore maybe keep track of him? Because I don't know what's out there.
You did clock Jacob step back onto the road with a very large bear trap, which does register as strange in a campground.
Yeah, for real. So, Jacob, find a toy out there? The kid's part of the playground or something?
well, as he says that, and the guy books off, Jacob looks for the shortest route to cut the guy off. Doesn't matter what's in his way. Says, yeah, I sure did. Do you want to keep this? It's kind of weird. And I drop it and take off running through the woods.
Okay, and when you say running through the woods, you mean you're going incorporeal and phasing through things?
As I need to, yes.
Okay. All right.
Looking for the fastest route to the guy, and I should be able to gain on him based on that. I mean, sure, he can zip and move, but I'm figuring I can catch him at some point.
We shall see. So Jacob quickly tosses the trap off his shoulder to one of you two, and then runs off into the woods. How would the two of you react to that?
I just look at Lucas like...
I was about to sprint, but when Jacob takes off sprinting after him, I'm like, Yeah, that's a lot of exercise. But I'm still gonna like jog in that direction. But I'm more relying on Jacob to be able to catch what we're actually looking for.
And
I'll get there when I get there.
you do have an empathetic connection with Lenore. Do you want her to keep an eye on this person?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Lenore kind of caws and wheels in the air and kind of flies over the woods towards where the guy ran. Jacob goes tearing off through the brush. Lucas is jogging off the way. Frank, are you accompanying?
Yeah. Well, first Frank's gonna just put that bear trap like off to the side of the road, like somewhere where we could find it again, but somewhere where it's not, it's going to be out of the way. It's not going to,
So you kind of clock the surroundings and toss it under a bush so you can come back to it at a later time.
You're right.
Okay,
Yeah.
not a problem. And then you run to catch up with Lucas.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say that the person who has the best chance right now is Jacob based on the way you're behaving. So give me an act under pressure roll. Okay. So, Jacob, you go sprinting off, occasionally having to phase through a tree or a bush, thorns and branches and whatnot. At the angle you're heading, you can see that you're running to intercept with this person. You see a few things as well. This person doesn't seem to... He's definitely physical. He's corporeal. He seems to take no notice of the fact that thorns and branches and whatever is hitting him and whipping at his skin. Like you can see cuts appear as he runs past stuff on his arms, on his face. Doesn't seem to pay any mind at all to that. He's avoiding like large things that would actually stop his form from passing, but running through bushes and whatnot, he doesn't seem to mind that as much. He's just running in a straight line as much as he can away from the road. He does see you coming as you are rushing up towards him. And as you close the distance with him, when you're still maybe 20, 30 feet and he can tell that you're going to cut him off, he spins and pulls a .38 special out, levels it towards you, and takes a shot. Which, at the range that you're at, he's definitely going to hit with a .38 special. Which is going, and that shot echoes through the woods. So Lucas and Frank, you hear just this quick pop of a small caliber pistol, and it's 2 harm. So a total of 1 to you after you soak it. You feel the bullet kind of rip into your shoulder as you're closing the distance with him, and then he starts to cock the hammer back again.
As he turns, spins, and shoots me, the bullet rips through my shoulder and it goes through, but it kind of knocks me back and stops my forward momentum. So I stop, and I just kind of look at him and I say, "You sure that's what you want to do again?" And if he goes to cock back and aim, then I am going to just kind of make a motion. Jacob is going to make a kind of like a Street Fighter guile, or Ayukin motion, as he does it, a ball of energy is going to manifest in his hands and shoot towards the guy.
Okay, yeah, you definitely see him cock back. You say, "Are you sure that's what you want to do?" And doesn't say a word. And you don't see like he has no expression on his face. He just dead eyes, just looking at you, just cocks it back. So as the man in the woods with the blank face cocks back his hammer and a ball of spectral energy forms in Jacob's hands, and the still echo of the last pistol shot dies down in the woods, I imagine that Frank and Lucas are starting to hurry along to catch up with their friend. That's where we're going to end episode 5 of Monster of the Week, Blackwood95. Tune in next time and see how this fight goes. All right, thanks, everyone.